following is RealAgriculture.com's coverage of CropSphere 2014 in Saskatoon.
I'm Lindsay Smith. I'm here with Scott Hartley, provincial insect specialist with the Saskatchewan Ministry of Agriculture. And today you were chatting about canola insects specifically. I noticed on the maps there cabbage seed pod weevil sort of spreading east out of the southwest corner. What should producers know about that?
Well, the cabbage seed pod weevil is a prime crucifer pest. It's not a big problem. Where it's been in the southwest before with yellow mustard, not a big issue. Some of the other mustards can be a problem, but primarily it's going to be in canola. And this one starts off in the spring, not usually doing an awful lot of damage, but just doing some of the edge feeding. Where the problems really start to occur is when it lay eggs, the larvae feeding within the pods, and when the numbers are big enough. And as you mentioned, this year, this was really a record year for Saskatchewan for cabbage seed pod weevil. Although it's been in the southwest for several years, really it's just starting to move into the more traditional canola growing areas in the southeast part of the province. They're moving north too as well, but there seems to be a more predominant movement from west to east. Not 100% sure. Some of the indications are it could be a hitchhiker that follows along rail lines, number one highway, things like that. But either way, it's hitting the canola belt in the eastern part before it is hitting the north.
Now let's talk a little bit about Bertha armyworm, a little bit maybe about the outbreak sort of cycle.
Well, Bertha armyworm is one of the insects that we have that is, I believe, more truly cyclical. Most of the other insects, people refer to it as cycles, but generally it's not quite as typical. With Bertha armyworm, it's usually about 8 to 10 years, and outbreaks last 2 to 3 years. Of course, there's going to be variation in there, but it seems to stick fairly close to that pattern. It was this round, it was probably maybe 7 to 8 years since the last big one, but for most areas in the province, we've been through it now for the last 2 to 3 years. So I'm suspecting that we will see a decline in populations this year, although there likely will still be some sprayings in some populations that exist out there. We were seeing higher populations of the virus, however. There's more disease involved, and therefore that's one of the things, as well as parasites, that will help bring down the Bertha population leading into 2014.
Now, and you did mention grasshoppers, which haven't been a big issue, but there is a bit of a caution maybe there.
Yes, grasshoppers, it's been a few years since we've seen real high numbers. Oddly enough, like northern Alberta, northern Saskatchewan's had some. This isn't a typical area for them, but it's usually more in the south, southwest, but it coincides with dry conditions. They're ones that really do well under dry conditions, and in the last several years we've also had fairly moist conditions too. So it hasn't been favorable for grasshoppers, but Agri-Food Canada, who did surveys for eggs this last fall and does annually, said that as opposed to many years, it was very easy to find eggs this year. So the suspicion is that there is a potential for a big increase if conditions are right leading up to the next growing season.
Great. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're most welcome.